Now, is the United States punishing Rwanda for rejecting American handed-down clothes? That's the question, as Rwanda it is ready to take the heat. It has joined other nations in putting up a fight in the U.S. trade wars debacle. Rise News correspondent Folake Adesugba has more.
The latest country to join in on the U.S. trade war, but it's not quite what you expect. This fight is about second-hand clothes. Rwanda and several of its East African neighbors introduced tariffs on imported second-hand garments in an attempt to strengthen their local manufacturing industries, which they feared were being threatened. Rwanda reportedly increased duties by 20 cents to $2.50 per kilogram. In response, a U.S. trade group filed a complaint claiming that the new tariffs violate the terms of the African Growth and Opportunity Act, which requires participating countries to reduce trade barriers for U.S. goods. The U.S. handed out a 60-day notice period for Rwanda to reduce its tariffs on imported used clothing or face the consequences. Discussion among the East African countries of banning imports completely by 2019 has been on the cards as far back as 2015. However, Kenya, Tanzania and Uganda backed down while Rwanda decided to stay the course. Rwandan President Paul Kagame said, "We have to do other things. We have to grow and establish our industries." According to the International Monetary Fund, Rwanda's economy is expected to grow by 7.2% this year, well above the budding market's average of 4.9%. Rwanda is ranked as the second easiest place to do business in Africa by the World Bank. It hopes that its clothing industry can create 25,000 jobs by 2020. Folake Adesugba for Arise News.
And of course, Folake joins me now in the studio to take a look at this development. Thank you, Folake, for joining me.
Pleasure.
Now, you've been keeping developments keeping tab on this development, particularly with the war going on between Rwanda and the U.S. And of course, the fact that Rwanda has refused to accept what we call handouts. Now, tell me, how do you think this is going to pan out? How do you think it's going to end up eventually?
Well, I'll tell you what's going to happen. See, Rwanda is going to walk out with this one easily. Actually, maybe not easily, but they're going to walk out with the win on this one. Now, there's a game plan here. Rwanda is trying to establish a more independent economy. Now, in Rwanda's 2017 and 18 estimates, the government eased taxes on the Made in Rwanda initiatives, which is expected to facilitate the growth of the local textiles. Now, it's also noteworthy to know that President Kagame is one of Africa's heads of states for improved engagement terms between African countries and Western countries for mutual benefits. So he has to set an example here. So it's good on him not to back out. Now, we can hardly, the Trump administration can hardly claim that it's acting on principle here, because more than 100 countries benefit from U.S. trade preference programs without returning the favor. So, I mean, we have India and Brazil, which are major exporters to the United States under the program known as the Generalized System of Preferences. Okay. And I'll tell you what this is. It's a preferential tariff system which provides a sort of a formal system of exemption. Yes. From the more general rules of the World Trade Organization. And these countries ship a lot more to the U.S. than Rwanda, and yet they have significant barriers to the U.S. trade. So, you know, they can't say that they're acting on principles here. I'd say it's just a really myopic decision to pick on Rwanda right now. Now, the U.S. should rather be supporting it instead of being against it, not because it's just the right thing to do, but also the vitality of the U.S. economy depends on whether they have markets for their goods and services. And until recently, supporting African economic growth was a key piece of U.S. Africa policy. Now, during the time of Barack Obama, he launched the Trade Africa Initiative to support regional economic integration and work towards a more reciprocal trade relationship. But Trump's administration putting suspension of access for Rwandan apparel and reinforces rather the sad truth that they're not willing to do trade businesses with Africa. along with undoing the remaining works of Barack Obama. And that's just a sad truth, not forgetting his remarks about African countries like this not too long ago. So it's not really looking good for him. This just opens doors for countries like China.
Now, exactly. I was actually coming to that because I was going to ask if you think that perhaps China might want to cash in on this and this row between Rwanda and the US.
Definitely. In fact, China is already cashing on this. And also, it's important to note, China actually recently made a similar play when it banned foreign garbage imports that are used to recycle. So they made a recent play like this too. And they're definitely going to benefit from this because China has been the leading trade partner for Africa for at least 9 years now, and it's not just China. EU are making active roles in the African region right now, and they're carrying out two-way trade deals that are not of advantage to American companies at all. So, I mean, this is just a very myopic move on Trump's part.
All right, thank you so much, Folake, for your contribution on Newsnight.